All right, let's go. Welcome to eCom Raw Reality episode 30. And in this one, we will chat about Easter, about the Easter sale, promo, whatever you want to call it in e-commerce. So the thing is that this Sunday, so I'm filming this on April 16th, Easter will be this weekend, so in around 5 days, 21st or so. And the main reason why I'm bringing this up is because if you are a Shopify owner, a business owner, an agency, and you work in e-commerce, you pretty much know that every chance that you have to get a sale up, or at least a reason for people to buy, then you should lean on it, right? And I'm also saying this because I'm just coming off a call with an e-commerce brand, and we chatted about Easter, about having some kind of offer, and then also about the next ones that are coming up in May. And if you've watched one of the previous videos, you might already know that April in general is a slower month. And that is actually one of the reasons. There aren't as many reasons for people to buy. And if we look at sales in general during the year, we will see patterns. We will see that in Q4, sales are higher. In Q1, in the first quarter, sales are usually lower for most brands, with the exception of, let's say, the ones in the health, I would say, category. That's the main one. And then if we look at summer, that's also a better time for some brands that are, let's say, in the beverage space or even in the apparel, if you are actually promoting summer clothes, apparel, and so on, right? So this is why in most cases we just need to use logic as much as possible. Also watch videos like this, right? Because right now there's no lack of information out there. Like, you can basically do anything and learn everything pretty quick, right? That's why in most cases, actually, if you think as a business owner or agency owner, whatever business you actually have, it's actually harder to get from 0 to 1 than from 1 to 5 sometimes, right? And that basically means that it's way harder in the beginning when you're trying to figure what to do, or for example, if you have a product, who to sell to or with what kind of ads. And then once you find just something small that works, then you can put more fuel to the fire and it does become easier. And for example, that's why I'm bringing up the Easter period, themed season and sale in most cases, because everyone wants a deal in most cases, right? If you don't want a deal, it's likely because you already want that product, right? So you're not really being pushed. But the thing is nowadays that we have so many options in front of us, right? And let me just put my phone down because just too many notifications, I guess. And because we have so many options and we don't have unlimited funds in most cases, then we do have to pick. And for example, we can't buy in one day like all the stuff out there, right? Because otherwise we will just be broke and it's not ideal. If we are smart enough, we know that ideally we don't spend more than we make. And sometimes this is how the economy actually works. And in the US, it kind of works like this. You spend way too much sometimes. And that's why credit cards are almost maxed out from looking at statistics recently. And it's the same with buy now, pay later. It has become more and more popular overall because most people are getting persuaded by marketing. They start believing that they might need to buy that, or they really need that in their life, or there's a lot of things, right? I mean, if you are on this channel, you probably know about marketing. You know that you can start by actually focusing on the pain point, on the problem, and almost everyone has a problem, right? For example, I'm giving you some things that I can think of for myself. For example, I'm into fitness, nutrition, longevity, and so on, right? So if there's like a new shiny object, new shiny supplement, right, I'll probably try it out. just because if I see some studies, if I see maybe that there's some logic behind that, I will try it, right? Yeah, I won't be broke because of it, but over time you start adding more and more, right? For example, right now I'm probably taking 20 supplements or so, and or let's not exaggerate, maybe 10, right? And I'm pretty sure that 5 of them are probably really important, such as omega-3, magnesium, zinc, things that I know aren't really easy to take from food, right? But then there are others that are like nice to have, right? For example, not necessarily caffeine, because that has an effect, but then to give you some examples, let's say inositol, glycine probably also has an effect, but then there are some probiotics that I take, and do I know if those make a huge difference or not? Not really, and it's very hard to quantify. That's why usually, ideally, you do make smaller bets at different times, and you try to see if anything really helps, right? And then you can look back and see, all right, while I took that pill or I did this and so on, right? There are a bunch of variables, and that's why you actually need to kind of look at it with a very close eye. But you can look back and try to find out if there was something that you did during a specific time that made you feel better, right? And honestly, in most cases, it's sleep, working out, moving, right? Because sometimes you don't need to work out like at the gym, but at least walk, right? We know that many people from like the parts of the world where people live more, they do that. Also, having a social group, that's really important, and this is something that you can't really quantify, right? So that's something that it's even actually hard to sell sometimes, because you can't really tell people, all right, you need 3 friends, and then it's like, all right, you can take a pill and that's it. You know, it's way more complicated when it comes to that. So that's why most people out there won't be selling you like a support group or anything like that. Maybe if you are into higher ticket sales and so on, but in most cases with consumables, with e-commerce, it's about something that's for you, or of course gifting, which is also a good angle to focus on. And we might talk more about that in May, when it's Mother's Day, Memorial Day, and so on. And right now during Easter, there's also, at least in Europe, in the US it's more so about like probably still about buying things for yourself, but for example in Europe it's more so about the event, about being around with family and so on, right? Enjoying that time. In the US slightly less, but that's also because that's where innovation is taking place in most cases, so people are thinking more of work, right? That's why we actually need to think of different mindsets across the globe, because I was even talking recently with someone who is selling apparel, right? And they did have suppliers from China, from India, and they did mention, and that makes total logic, also myself knowing those nations, that for example in China they have a much longer term vision than in India, right? And I can say that because, for example, I've also worked with people from India, and the mindset is just different, right? It doesn't mean necessarily good or bad, but it's the same like in Europe. If I compare someone in Eastern versus, let's say, South, of course, the ones in the Eastern part of Europe are harder working in most cases, let's say, while the ones in the South are more laid back. And is that a good thing, a bad thing? Well, it depends. If you want to retire and so on, yeah, you would want to be in the South. If you want to work harder, you ideally would be in an environment such as the East, right? So different things, different people and so on. But coming back to the Easter time, the thing is that in e-commerce right now, if you have a brand, if you are working with brands, then you should try to lean on this if possible, because in most cases, even if you don't want a discount, for example, because I know those conversations when someone doesn't want to discount, but at least you can mention this period of the year, first of all. And second, you can also try to offer something, right? Doesn't even have to be like an actual discount, although discount is the easiest. But for example, for many brands, it's just offering something free. And although it shouldn't be just for that time, this is a strategy that you can actually deploy across the year, right? For example, you know that some periods will be slower. So what's the solution? Well, trying to offer people something, an incentive. It could be even some kind of digital product, right? Some kind of digital product that would be, let's say, a guide. If you sell something that's related to health, you can offer a guide, something that's just free. Just adding that word there helps a lot in marketing, right? And that's why it's still all about creativity. And basically, if you don't know what to ask for or what to look for, it won't happen, right? Meaning that if you think of ChatGPT and AI, yeah, it exists, but without prompting, without actually a human thinking of what would actually be one of the best decisions to take, then ChatGPT is just there dormant. Like the quality of the answers that ChatGPT could offer us, or actually the quality of the work ChatGPT could make, depends on the quality of questions that the actual person asks, right? Because at this point, it's not like ChatGPT rules the world, not yet at least. It's still humans. We're still basically the most intelligent species out there, right? And at least for now, we can try to take advantage of that by actually trying to think as much as possible and taking the best decisions that we can, right? Life is always about a set of decisions that we take each and every moment. Just like right now, I have to decide if I need to stop this video right now or not. And because we've yapped a lot here, let's end it here. If you enjoyed this, as always, you can leave a like. If you have anything to comment, you can do it down below. And until next time, peace out.